Now that we have set up our application with a fairly decent user interface or UI, I would like to spend some time talking about widgets, JSON, and the document object model, which is typically referred as the DOM. So let's go over to Studio, and we're going to focus our attention to the new sale page we just did. So we have to think. We have to first get or select our client. Then we have to select the products this client will be using, and somehow we have to store them temporarily in widgets or client-side variables, and then we'll have to send them over to the server side for processing. So I'll start off with a very simple widget here. It's going to be we're going to do a very simple select editor right now. And in this select editor, we're going to create a new live variable that's going to get us the client. It's going to be SEL client. Now its data set, we'll create it right now. We're going to create a new live variable manually using insert live variable. I'm going to call this LVR client. And the type is going to be client. We also have to change the caption. Okay, client, perfect. And the data set, we just created the live client, so we can put it right here. So the data that is going to be stored as a selected item is the whole JSON object. The whole JSON object contains the ID client, first name, last name, the date of birth, and the gender, I believe, was the complete object. If I just want to store the ID of the client, I can do this. But for now, I'll store the whole JSON object. And what I'm going to be displaying is the first name only. So let's just run this real quick to see if we're going anywhere. Okay, let's reload. Okay, let's go to new sale, and we can see that it loaded my widget, it did the post request, and I am seeing the first name of all of my clients. And always bear in mind that this is a select editor, and the live variable by default will only load 500 records. If we have 500 or more, 501 or more, these won't be loaded into this data set. We can achieve to reach more than 500 records using filtering, and that's what I'll be using to do the product. So we'll assume that we can only have at most 500 clients for this simple editor here. Also, if you would like to have the first name and last name, we can easily do that. Going here to the display expression, if we click this little chain icon here on the data here, we can put first name. We'll shift put some quotes to do a concatenation for first name and last name. Let's do a bind. Now the display expression is showing this. Now I am seeing first name and last name. So that's very convenient right now. Okay, the next thing we have to do is select products. But let's assume that we're going to have thousands and thousands of products. We're not going to have a limit of 500 at most. So it's a really good idea to use a grid and then filter the grid using some type of extra widgets and using a dialog box. So this will be easier said than done. So let's go ahead and do a new live variable. LVR product. Okay. We're going to select the product here. We're going to have max results 500, and that's a good thing. We don't want to make that value too high, otherwise we're going to be loading too much data into the client. Now this data, we're going to put it into a nice grid. So let's put in a dialog box. Just make a search here. DIA, designable dialog. Yep. So in here, we're going to be selecting the products. We'll be adding them into some list item. And let's put a button here. Close. btn close. So when I close this, I want to close the dialog box. I'll go to on click, dialogs, designable dialog, hide. I don't like the name designable dialog. I'll call it DLG product. Great. And this is going to put the little title product. Perfect. So I want to create a grid item here. I'm going to set its height so it takes all the space in the canvas here. And I'm going to set its data set to the newly created product. So now we have a list of products here. And I also need to add a button to put select products. This will be called btn select product. I'll increase the size a little bit. Great. Okay, so when I click on this, I'm going to go to event, on click, dialogs, DLG product show. So let's go ahead and run it. So now we should be able to see when I refresh and load the new sale, we should be able to see two postbacks. One that's going to load the list of clients, and the other one is going to do the load of list of products. So let's go ahead and do new sale. So here they are. There are two postbacks right here. These are the clients and these are the products. So my client select editor works fine, and if I click select products, here are the products. Now we'll have to add some type of mechanism that will select the product, select the quantity, somehow display the total in JavaScript. This is just for the user's information, and then add it to some to the variable we're going to be using to transfer it over to the server side. And if we close, the dialog box goes away. Great. So let's go ahead and add the extra fields we need to do. So let's go back to our dialog product. We're going to add a number editor. Editor's number. Great. So we're going to put here num quantity, and we're not going to accept less than one item. If we put a negative value in here, the widget is going to give a little error. And maximum, let's say we can order a maximum of 999 items of each. We will also add a label with the total. Okay, now these things are being ordered one on top of the other one. I want to put them sideways. So to achieve that, I want to put a panel in here. Set the panel to the layout kind left to right, and then move my widgets in here. And so we're going to do center, and middle. Great. So we're going to change the caption to quantity, and we're going to set the label to, I'm going to click on this chain and we're going to build a little expression here. And the expression is going to be the price of the item that is selected on the grid times the quantity. So I can click here and I have my Dojo grid selected here. I will expand it, and this is the product mapping for this selected item, and I'm going to get the price. So we have the price of the selected item. In this case it's the donut, so it's going to be price of 3 times the quantity we have here, and I want the data value. So it's going to be 3 times the value we put in here. We're going to also concatenate. We're going to go back all to the beginning. We're going to put some quotes. We're going to put total. Okay, so we'll do, oh, I forgot a little plus sign here to concatenate. There we go, and let's do a binding here. So right now it's total 0 because this is 0 here. And I'm going to change this to LBL total. Perfect. Okay, let's run it and see how this works. Let's reload our application. Let's clear our console. Let's put new sale. Okay, all my data is loaded. We're going to select the client. Perfect. And then we're going to select the product. So no product is selected and quantity is equal to null or undefined. We have a donut here and we're going to get 4 of those. So as soon as I click out of here, it's giving me the total of multiplying these two values. And it's done just by that little expression I just built. We now have to store the information we're selecting into some type of variable that we're going to be sending over to the server side. So let's go ahead and open Studio here, and let's create a live variable that's going to be saving the product ID and the quantity of the items, and then we'll send that information. Now to do that, we're going to create a client-side variable. It's just put insert variable. I'm going to call this LVR product list, and the type is going to be list receipt product. Actually, I'll rename it list LVR list receipt product. So this variable here, if we go here and we edit the JSON, all we care about is the product ID and the quantity. Everything else, the price, it would be unsafe if we send the price over to the server side for processing, because as we all know, all JavaScript code can be manipulated by the browser and this console here. So we'll ignore the price. We'll just need the ID of the product and the quantity. And the receipt will be auto-generated by the server, and we'll send the client separately over to the Java service. So we can see the structure. Okay, we can ignore that. And what else I would like to point out is that this object is a list. So I'll check that in here. Now it's time to do some JavaScript. We'll go back to the dialog box. And we'll put a little button here. So using JavaScript, we're going to add the item using JavaScript. So we're going to put add item. I'm going to be calling this btn add item. Great. So we'll go to events, on click, JavaScript. So it's the first time we take a look at JavaScript. And when I click this button, I'm going to be running this function here. And what I want is to get this product item and the content of this num quantity editor and fit them in this variable right here. This LVR is actually not an LVR. Sorry about that. I'll just call it var because it's a variable, not a live variable. Live variable is query the database. The variable is just storage. So let's do this. This dot. Okay, this means the page where this item is contained. We'll further look at what this means when we inspect the DOM in a couple of minutes, but just bear with me for a little while. So this dot var list receipt product dot add item. So the item that we're going to be sending into is going to be a JSON object. The JSON object notation is easily recognized by the use of these braces. So right now we're sending an empty JSON object, but I want to send in the product. So the product is inside this dojo grid, which I will rename DGD product. Okay, so product colon, and here I'll pass in the product I'm selecting from the grid. This has IntelliSense, so if you press Control Spacebar, it will autocomplete. It's really good. Selected item. Okay, and then I'll put a comma, and then I'll put quantity, and the quantity is stored in this item right here. So I'll put this dot num quantity dot get data value. All right, perfect. So let's inspect the DOM for the first time and test this little piece of code to see if it works. All right, let's go to the browser. Let's reload. Let's go to our new sale. We're gonna clear this, select products. So I'm gonna get one donut, and I'm gonna select the donut, and I want to say quantity of 2. So 2 times 3 is 6. So if we click on add item, it's like if nothing happens. But here's where we're gonna inspect the DOM. Remember that this is the page that contains the item. So take a minute and think about this. We have our new page, new sale page, and the new sale page is contained within our main page. So I will navigate into the variable this way. So the main page contains everybody. Inside the main page we have a page container, and inside the page container we have the current page. We could just get to it using page. Now this is what becomes this pretty much. When I write this here in the code, it's referring to this path. This is the item that contains the element. So if we go to var list receipt product dot get data, we have an array. So we have a product here, and the quantity and the code we just wrote is working fine. So you can see that when I clicked this side, this means that it's an array of objects because it's a list of objects. We can have many products. So this product right here, it's going to be product 2, and there are 2 donuts. And now let's add a sandwich here. I'm going to do a sandwich, and we're going to have 4 sandwiches. We're going to click on add item again. We won't see the changes in the DOM right now, but if we press up here and we gather that data again, now we have 2 items in here. We have the donut and we have the sandwich. So this is also a JSON object. And think about the DOM like all the nodes and all the little widgets and things that are being rendered into the browser. So we can actually go in here and clicking this item here, we can be inspecting that this is a piece of the div tag of the Dojo box, so I really wouldn't want to go there yet. But I can do this. I can just inspect the main page. So it goes into the DOM. So look at all the things that are going around here. Here's the button for client. Here's the button for the admin receipt. The button for product. It has a whole bunch of components. And inside that was the page container. And we open the page container, which is this area of the screen here. We get to see the page itself. And now the page itself has all these other things. Now we have the button close, which is this element here. The add item button that we just put in here. So we can manipulate all of these things using this console in the browser. If I wanted to hide this dialog box using the DOM, it's really easy. You can just go to the console and we'll go main dot page container dot page dot dlg product dot hide, I believe is the method for that. And if I execute that, it does the it hides the panel. So JavaScript is really good for running the code and presenting all the widgets and all the information the user has to have in order to use our application. But we can't really have a business logic in it, because you can see that the user can manipulate this code by running commands here in the JavaScript. So that's why we have a server side to this, and that's what we're going to be covering in a minute. So before we finish this module right now, I want to put a grid and show the list of products we'll be purchasing. So let's do that right now. So let's go back here. Let's put a grid down there. Now this is going to be the Dojo grid. Pro list product receipt. And now for its data set, it's going to be the variable we're building. So it's going to show the list, the quantity, and the price. And it's not really going to show us the product. It's one of the things that'd be really good to update in WaveMaker. I don't know if anybody in the community has a solution for this, but okay, I'm gonna add a little button here. I don't see the product item right here. So what I usually do, I manually make a column so I can show it. So let's edit the columns right here of this Dojo grid. I'm gonna hide this, and I'm gonna add a new column, which is gonna be the product. Okay, product, and we don't need this price. This price is gonna be null for now because this is what the Java class is gonna fill in when we calculate. So we're just gonna have a product and quantity, and in the product we can concatenate the price of it in there. So right now this column is empty, so we'll just do a format, add a formatter, and we will manually have to put the values using this row object. So the row object, it should have the product, and I think the product had product name. Let me check real quick. So let's go back to our variable. Yep. So we're gonna do the row object is gonna be 0, 1, and all that. We're gonna go in product, and then we're gonna put name and price. So we're just gonna concatenate those together. So you can see I'm gonna write row object, which means these are the row objects. Dot product dot name, and then I'm gonna rewrite row object dot product dot price. So row object dot product dot name, and then add a little space. You can put a little $sign in there, and then row object dot product dot price. So I believe that should do it. Let's go back to Studio to our application. Let's reload it. Let's click a new sale. Okay, so we have product. It's really long, and the quantities down there. So let's select our products. Let's select the hamburger. Let's put a quantity of 5. When we add the item, we can now see the hamburger 275 with 5. We can also add a little column here to show the total, and then look through the variable and actually calculate the total and the subtotal and all that down here, but we're going to leave that for some other time. So that's it. That's all I really want to show with our client side. So remember that all of these elements are built in this DOM or document object model, and there are nodes which you can be inspecting in here, and using the console you can access and call functions on them. Okay, so I hope this was not so confusing. Remember, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'm willing to make these videos better. I know they're a little improvised, but I hope that it'll be helpful for some folks out there. So just hang on. The next module is going to be the little more complicated one, because we're going to switch over to the Java side and talk about transactions, but it's definitely worth it. So thank you for your time.